You know, the Gotei 13 are some ridiculously powerful people, even amongst Bleach's already stacked lineup. But even among these Shinigami elite, there's always going to be someone who's the best of the best. So let's sit back and take a look at these absolute powerhouses to see who takes the crown. Admittedly a relatively new captain of the division, Rukia lacks the experience in her role to overtake some of the others on this list. Of course, as our protagonist's main support, many fans had big hopes for Rukia's powers. Her growth has unfortunately been painstakingly slow and disappointing compared to her companions. Luckily, her new position as captain does feel like the right place for Rukia to gain the necessary experience independently and hopefully come into her strength soon. She still has some of the highest growth potential on the list, especially with her Haka no Togame, a total beast of a Bankai with untapped power beyond imagination. Now, even though we've put her at number 15, Rukia is by no means weak compared to most Shinigami, and with some more polish, could take anyone on this list. A genius chemist and inventor with a penchant for body modification, Kurotsuchi's adaptability is second to none. The mad scientist 12th Division Captain Mayuri Kurotsuchi is a difficult character to place because, on the one hand, his twisted creativity and intelligence, coupled with his ability to exploit his opponent's weaknesses with scary precision, makes him a tenacious opponent for many. On the other, because his skills are so specific, he's not a well-rounded enough fighter to be placed higher on this list. Kurotsuchi is easily overpowered by Ishida early in the series, and against an intense melee-style fighter like Kenpachi could easily be wiped out regardless of the tricks up his sleeve. Of course, not without doing some damage on the way out, which is why he takes the number 14 spot on our list. Being a Vizard, Hirako already has a substantial amount of part Shinigami, part hollow spiritual energy. Being the leader of the Vizards, you'd have to have a pretty ridiculous amount of power to be qualified. The current 5th Division captain and Vizard leader Shinji Hirako gives us a good sample of his capability when he defeats Grimmjow without much struggle early on into his introduction. His Zanpakuto is also one of the strongest and most difficult to go up against in all of Bleach, which earns him such a high spot on this list. The weapon releases a mist that confuses his opponent's senses, making an already difficult fight near impossible. Already off to a strong start, it could also be argued that he's barely gotten the chance to really show off his full capability. If given the proper time, development, and dedication to his growth arc, Hirako could easily become one of the strongest captains of all time. Complicated and angsty 6th Division leader Byakuya Kuchiki is, of course, the head of his family, the Kuchiki clan. Now, with this title comes some pretty sick moves passed down through the clan, but even without these, Byakuya is pretty much a pro at everything he tries his hand at. Genuinely one of the most well-rounded fighters on the list, Byakuya makes the most out of his entire arsenal of moves. From the start, his untouchable combat skills with a brutal Zanpakuto have tripped up most everyone who challenges him to a fight. To make matters worse for his enemies, Byakuya possesses an absolutely baffling Bankai which essentially tears 99.9% of his opponents to shreds. As a brilliant tactician, he also has countless tricks up his sleeve, including but not limited to a Shunpo technique where he is able to cut off his foe's spiritual flow so quickly that it almost goes undetected. Before they even realize they've lost the fight, Byakuya is able to assure his victory, which is why he takes the 12th spot on our list. Now, it's easy to overlook the sweetheart family man that Isshin is, but doing so is a fatal mistake for any of his enemies. Isshin can be an absolutely devastating opponent to those who underestimate him. The lighthearted former captain of the 10th Division and father to Ichigo takes the 11th spot on our list. On top of his razor-sharp combat skills, astonishing swordsmanship, and above-average durability, Isshin is also an expert healer, a rare skill that sets him apart from the other captains. He's also explained that past injuries keep him from properly fixing his Ryatsu, and therefore he's unable to activate his Bankai. Although, if he were actually able to, we wonder where he'd really be on the list. The young prodigy and 10th Division captain is an absolute technical dynamo, wielding one of the strongest Bankai in all of Bleach. A fan favorite, and for good reason, Toshiro Hitsugaya is one of the most anticipated captains among the Gotei 13, having secured his spot at such a young age. In basically all aspects, Hitsugaya is able to rise above the rest, oftentimes provoking jealousy from those who can't catch up with him. Factoring in how well he holds himself in a fight, despite not necessarily having a lot of clear wins, it's undeniably impressive. However, his naivete and lack of experience on the battlefield is hard to ignore and puts him behind the rest of our top contenders. He has historically been easily taken advantage of or manipulated by more experienced fighters like Aizen. This weakness will honestly be a non-issue as Hitsugaya continues to improve and perfect his own style of combat. He takes spot number 10 mostly due to the fact that he has an enormous potential for growth and time to catch up with his colleagues with his skills. Which brings us to number 9 on this list. As the main antagonist of the series, it's a no-brainer that Aizen would have to be one of the top 10. Now, because of his varied history and lost potential, Aizen is lower on the list than one might expect. Let's get into it. Former 5th Division Captain Aizen left Soul Society behind and used his strategic genius to wage an all-out war against his former colleagues. His power of persuasion also garnered him support from several other strong captains who defected alongside him on his quest for power. Yet bad decision after bad decision had Aizen biting off more than he could chew and did ultimately lead to his defeat and imprisonment. Of course, his essential immortality does earn him quite a few points, but his strategies usually end up getting foiled by our main good guys. Perhaps Aizen's worst traits are making the wrong enemies, which reveal his weakness easily and ultimately overtake him. Jushiro Ukitake is the former captain of the 13th Division, and for starters, he wields one of the absolute coolest and rarest Zanpakutos, the dual-wielded Sogyo no Kotowari. One of only 2 in existence, it is able to not only absorb energy, but reflect virtually any attack back to its opponent with ease. Even with a lifelong debilitating illness, Ukitake overcomes his challenges while maintaining an impressive amount of courage and composure. Already an accomplished warrior and ace swordsman despite his circumstances, Jushiro had incredible speed and enhanced durability due to his high level of Kido mastery. His spiritual power was said to be some of the greatest of all the captains, alongside fellow longtime captain and friend Shinsui. So much so, in fact, that he is one of the only captains able to stand up to Commander Yamamoto's flames and live to tell the tale. When his mind is made up, he does not hesitate to rush into battle with conviction, although this ultimately leads to Ukitake sacrificing his life in the 1,000-year blood war. Forced into exile over 100 years ago by Aizen and hiding among Urahara and co. in the human world, the often overlooked Tessai Tsukabishi is a unique and unexpected addition to the lineup. A convenience store employee with the grisly demeanor of a war-weathered man, Tessai was the Grand Kido Chief of Soul Society's Kido Corps and known as one of the strongest Kido masters in all of Soul Society. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, Tessai is also proficient in healing Kido as well as several types of forbidden Kido such as time and space manipulation. He also has a great deal of knowledge of past and present events in Soul Society, which makes him an invaluable strategist to any team and can use his Kido to a great extent without tiring. Yoruichi Shihoin is a natural leader and the former captain of the 2nd Division, commander-in-chief of the Onmitsukido, and the executive militia corps director. Seeing all her leadership accomplishments makes sense when looking at her staggering hand-to-hand combat abilities, seasoned assassin skills, and beyond that, the incredible and unique ability to transform at will. And being the commander of the Onmitsukido means her sneaking abilities are off the charts. Her ability to conceal her presence from even the strongest of foes is a testament to her jaw-dropping Reiatsu control. She's also able to use a technique that combines Hakuda with Kido to create a pair of pressurized Kido lightning wings. Do we even need to explain how awesome that is? While residing in the human world, fan favorite Kisuke Urahara lives out his peaceful days as a shopkeep. But behind a goofy, relaxed face is an alarming amount of power and a dark past. Urahara was the first president of the Shinigami Research and Development Institute, as well as the former captain of the 12th Division. You really root for him because Urahara admirably cares deeply about the Soul Society despite being exiled for exposing dark truths about mysterious disappearances in Rukongai. On top of an intellect that shines above the rest, Urahara is also a Hakuda master and wields destructive techniques unrivaled by many other captains on this list. To top it off, he possesses some serious strength despite a lanky frame. After spending less than 10 years as captain, his achievements saved the lives of many of his fellow captains and his research many more beyond that. Kenpachi Zaraki, 11th Division Captain, uses whatever means necessary to enjoy his battles. This is a guy who takes pride and joy in the thrill of combat and has the experience to back his skills up. What makes him a true monster is that he does all this without even unleashing his full strength in order to make each battle more challenging and fun for his own taste. By giving himself an extra challenge, Kenpachi heightens the danger and therefore his own enjoyment for each of the fights. He's also constantly searching for a worthy opponent to give his 100% with, ultimately taking the title of Kenpachi from his most formidable one. As far as his Zanpakuto goes, Nozarashi is also a destructive type and even transforms Zaraki into more of an unstoppable fighting machine with enhanced senses and physical abilities. Boasting unimaginable levels of pure strength, he manages to be an absolute beast while not even having mastered his Ryatsu. Despite definitely doing things the hard way, he takes the number 4 spot on the list by simply being a master combatant. Perhaps the greatest healer that Soul Society has ever known, Retsu Unohana was the 4th Division captain. Truly a legend amongst her fellow Shinigami and perhaps one of the coolest plot reveals in the series, Unohana is actually the first person to have been given the title of Kenpachi, proving how incredible her battle skills are. Once a generation, the title is given to the strongest Shinigami until the next Kenpachi defeats them in battle. Not only is she one of the strongest and most well-rounded characters, she's also been known to be a relentless adversary in combat. Unohana took on her eventual successor, Kenpachi Zaraki, countless times. Early on in the fight, she had him at checkmate, but just to continue having fun in their battle, she brought him back to life dozens of times, only to best him each time. He does eventually get the upper hand and take the title of Kenpachi, although it seems that if she really wanted to, she could have finished him off easily. Using her healing powers to save him during their battle only to continue winning is pretty OP in our book. The former captain of the 8th Division and current captain of the 1st Division is in a league of his own. Behind a peaceful and charming demeanor is a fighter willing to resort to playing dirty if it gets him the win. One of the oldest captains in Soul Society, Shinsui actually prefers to avoid violence. Underestimating him, however, is a fatal mistake. Shinsui is who you call when you need a job finished, no matter what it takes. It's that same kind and cheerful facade that throws off his opponents and gives him the upper hand. It can be off-putting when a smiling face hides a truly terrifying and erratic fighting style beneath. With his countless abilities, opponents have no way of predicting what he might do next. Shinsui and close comrade Ukitake are said to have vast spiritual power that absolutely dominates the other members of the Gotei 13. To top it off, Shinsui is a brilliant tactician and, much like many of his peers, an elite swordsman with an astounding array of abilities that could beat down any opponent mercilessly. One of his only weaknesses is the concern that the indiscriminate effects of his Bankai could also wound a comrade in battle. But with the right team, we're not so sure that counts as much of a weakness. After all, who else would be suited to take the number 1 spot as the captain commander of the Gotei 13 except the number 2 strongest in Soul Society? Among many Bleach fans, it is indisputable how staggering former First Division Captain Yamamoto is when it comes to power. One of the original OP anime geezers, Yamamoto does not disappoint when it comes to how awe-inspiring his abilities are. At number 1 on the list, here's how he took the spot. Yamamoto has one of, if not the most powerful Zanpakuto in the entire series. When in its Bankai form, flames engulf the entire surrounding area, indiscriminately dealing damage to friend or foe. Yamamoto's power is so overwhelming that there are Zanpakuto users that can't evoke their own abilities in the face of his inferno. If he wanted to, he could completely decimate Soul Society if his Bankai was used at full capacity for too long. His age and experience are of course a valuable asset, as he has the ability to actually resurrect former opponents through his flames and summon them to fight for him. The X-Commander is still a dazzling display of the best the Gotei 13 has ever had or will have to offer. So, those were our picks for the top 15 Bleach captains ranked by strength. Is there anyone stronger than our number 1 pick? Let us know in the comments down below what you think. Oh, and be sure to drop a like for more anime and Bleach content, or subscribe to the channel for more content like this.